Hi, this is Evelyn Olivares. Welcome back. Welcome to your last unit, guys. Well done for getting this far. It's fantastic that you're able to get this far and in your assignments here. And looking forward to sharing some more great things with you here now. This is the last video I'll be recording for you for this semester, and look forward to seeing you again. Well, I'd like to start with just a couple of questions. How are you feeling? This is the end of the semester. You've done so well, and after this, you'll be able to get out there and start working in the real estate industry. So, are you excited? Are you ready for this next step in your career? Have a good think about that and start planning where you're going. And so this is what this is about today. I love that you're here watching and listening to this video, because that means that you're investing in your own growth, ready to take on board some great tips from your assessment, and allows you to grow and decide whether you do really want to be here enjoying this learning. So this short video is going to help you to overcome some of your old obstacles, as well as talking about conflict and disputes. I'd like to share with you some other great ideas, great tools for you, so that you can now feel more relaxed and confident, and you can create your own success. Yeah, it's true. And you may have had some situations in the past where perhaps things were less than brilliant. Yeah, maybe it was just things were just mediocre, but you thought, just for a moment, I can deserve more than this out in the future. Now, I've got to confess that it wouldn't be a dumb thing for me to suggest to you that you'll be able to utilize all that you learn, all that you have learned with me over the past weeks, what you're learning here today, easily and effortlessly. And with all the bonus learning in class, you'll be able to actualize new behaviors in such a way as to cause you to increase your results. I'm not saying that at all. Of course. So sit back and relax, take some notes if you want to, and let's get started. All right, so remembering at the bottom left-hand side of the slide is your tips as to where you need to go for the assessment questions. So what is conflict and disputes? What's the difference between the two? Well, according to Gorgon, it's a compromise. Compromise is the art of dividing a cake in such a way that everyone believes they have the greatest or the biggest piece. According to John Burton, back in 1990, a dispute is a short-term disagreement that can result in the disputants reaching some sort of resolution. It involves issues that are negotiable. Conflict, on the other hand, is long-term with deep-rooted issues that are seen as non-negotiable. So think about that, and you utilize that in your paper. Before we continue any further, I'd like to share with you this beautiful story, which I'm sure you'll enjoy. Have you ever felt trapped and helpless within a relationship, whether that be personal or professional? Do you feel depressed and involved or unloved most days? Maybe feel isolated, caught up in the vortex of emotions and unable to reach out to communicate with your friends, your boss, or your partner? Emotionally abusive relationships have immense destructive powers, and continuing conflict and disputes have the ability to overwhelm and to make you feel undervalued. When the power within the relationship is unevenly balanced, you will need to seriously consider your options before healing can even begin. When you become caught up in a relationship, whether it's professional or personal, that's centered on emotional abuse or negativity in your life, it very quickly spirals out of control. Some people are driven by the need to have control of others. You may know people like that. They may not even know that they're doing this consciously, but they are compelled to do so by their past experiences. We've discussed some of this in class. Their inability to succeed within relationships, and possibly by past rejections. Now, whether it's a conscious or subconscious motive, their actions can be cruel. So you need to seek approval within the relationship, and things may increase dramatically. At times you may experience some strong emotions or hate or even bitterness, and at other times maybe you find yourself so desperately in love that it threatens to become all-consuming. If you're reading this far and this strikes a chord with you, then you may well recognize the signs. When you are so in love, or you're so wanting something so very much, you want to shower your partner with affection and make them feel happy and secure. Is it possible? Is it possible to be loving? To be too loving? To be too dependent on your partner's approval? Early signs often dictate a very slippery slope. So when things are one-sided, where your partner has all of the control, and that starts to feel like their own sense of self-worth slipping away. I want to share an example with you by way of a past client of mine. I'm going to call her Cindy. That's not her real name, but of course I'm going to just use her for the purpose of the exercise. So she was married for almost 20 years. And during that time, promises were made to her and often broken, and life became a trial of emotional abuse. She felt unloved, unwanted, and totally worthless. She'd spend hours locked away in her room, desperately unhappy. She couldn't even talk to her husband about her feelings because he got really angry. Eventually, her own anger inwardly started to develop. She blamed him for making her feel so inadequate. Bitterness tinged and with depression. It was a really heady cocktail that kept her trapped within her own isolation. Now, Cindy felt hurt and betrayed by this lack of love towards her. How could he compromise so much and then give so little? In her feelings of insecurity and low confidence, she caught the voices in her head saying, "He created these feelings in me, and yet he still seemed unhappy." So gradually Cindy found herself getting out of the house, walking for miles, embracing the beautiful scenery around her. This became a daily ritual, and through the intense beauty of nature, she started to experience her own sense of solace, learning that being on her own was actually not so bad. Through hours of reflection, analyzing the past, she realized that somehow, without meaning to, she'd given him her power, and that she had to take some responsibility for that, for the way she was feeling. Gradually, Cindy began her own inner healing through her need for change. I've discussed before NLP, or Neuro-Linguistic Programming. And in terms of NLP, everyone has their own map of the world. And this simply records each individual's journey of experience to date. This map is unique. It's based upon your own perceptions, and it enables you to make conscious decisions. But depending on those experiences, the map of the world may not always enable you to view life with great clarity. Sometimes you may think that you know someone, and yet your perception is fragmented, at times through the trauma of emotional or physical relationships, or through any type of emotional pain. Resentment can occur, and the map can become tainted, often with false impressions gleaned from by your understanding of how to react to life's events. NLP is a resource that can help you change behaviours and thought processes so that each map can develop and change as the person grows. Relationships are not always easy, but if you hand over your personal power so readily to somebody else, you render yourself powerless. You must assume responsibility. When you forgive yourself and others, you start to heal, and you learn the valuable lesson that life is not always as it seems to be, and neither are people. So Cindy learnt to regenerate her own power and to move away from an abusive, intolerant relationship that kept her trapped for the best part of 20 years. You can make valuable changes to empower your own life too. So the next question, question 2. There are 8 causes of conflict. And according to Bell and Hart, they are on the screen. Conflicting resources, conflicting styles, conflicting perceptions, conflicting goals, conflicting pressures, conflicting roles, different personal values, and unpredictable policies. I've got a question for you. Have you ever felt like you've been misunderstood? Have you ever sworn that you've given accurate instructions to someone else and yet they still got lost? That they didn't follow your instructions? Have you ever been frustrated by the fact that you've thought you've been really clear in your communication, but clearly, ironically, your instructions were not followed? They were misunderstood in a totally different direction? Have you ever felt frustrated or in a space of darkness or mystery in terms of trying to understand why your friend would say those things, or why your boss or your wife or husband would do that, or why your son or daughter would say such a thing to you? Or have you ever been blinded by someone who is really weird with their actions, or the way they speak, or the way they manage their relationship with you? Has anything ever happened that you've been quite mysteriously confused about? Why this person acts the way that they are? The reason for this is because of their own personal map of the world. Now, in my coaching, I explain this in great detail because their map is different to yours. And what I was just saying there in regard to the map of the world, in the world of coaching, it's taught me that I want to introduce you here to some very quickly some principles in coaching, because they're extremely useful in building your own personal power in relationships. Coaching someone else reinforces your own personal power. Transformational coaching is why I do this. It's personal power, passion, and purpose. That's what's missing for a lot of people. If you're not living your life the way you thought you would be by now, if your career is not successful as you imagine it would be, then it's because your own personal power needs to be released. Find your passion and your purpose in life. It's there within you already. You just need to release it. I coach people so that they can learn a deeper level of important skills. These skills are absolutely necessary if you're going to manage and run and experience a successful life. If you really think about it, a successful life is the code of your relationship in life. It's how you communicate with self and others. It's a matter of continually living with conflict and disputes in your life or not. It's the quality of relationship you have with self that reflects on others, like a mirror image. It determines the quality your relationships with others. So, you've all heard it said before, a happy wife is a happy life. And it's so true, isn't it? So let's take that into business relationships. A happy client relationships is a happy and successful business. So it's really, really key. In coaching, I often say that you can't effectively coach someone until you've actually entered their world. Honor them by entering their world, using their language. And the same applies in the business world. You can't effectively make a sale and maintain great relationships with your prospects if you don't enter their world, if you don't speak their language. People are emotional beings, and emotions sell 3,000 times faster than logic. So you must be able to enter their world and appreciate them as individuals. Walk a mile in their shoes, and then you can respect their model of the world. When you understand their model of the world, there is no conflict. There is no disputes. This is key. It's crucial in any relationship. I'm not talking just personal relationships here. I'm not just talking business relationships. I'm talking all relationships, any relationship you choose to enter into. So let me give you another example here. I have a brother who lives in Randwick, around 10 minutes from Sydney. Now, I live in the northwest, in the hills area, and it can take anywhere between 40 to 90 minutes to get from my home to Sydney, depending on the traffic and the day of the week. So my brother, for example, although he's been invited so many times to my home for a family barbecue, he avoids coming here for family get-together. He says, "Ev, you just live too far away." Well, the appropriate reply to that is too far compared to what? Because in his map of the world, his definition of too far is driving a distance of about 15 minutes from Sydney. So he'll meet us at a park at Drummoyne, for example, because that's, in his mind, acceptable. It's an acceptable distance for him to travel. But further than that, he won't mind. He won't drive. In my model of the world, it's totally different. For me, far for me is the Blue Mountains. And the thing is, this is what's happening in life all the time. Let's look at another example. Let's say a client says something like, "Gee, I find this experience really intense." Now, you can't assume that you know what they mean by intense. You need to ask them, how do you mean intense? What do you mean by intensity? What's intensity to you? Because when you discover what intensity means to them, then you know how to handle that communication or that conflict. Their version of intensity might be your version of relaxed. Just like my version of far is Blue Mountains as opposed to 15 minutes from home. So you must appreciate that everyone's language, even though the words might physically be the same, their language is going to be quite different in terms of its meaning versus what you attribute to its meaning. This is the reason why we're often confused by people's actions, or we get upset, or we get frustrated, or we get angry or flustered by someone's way of responding to us, or not, when following our instructions. So whether it's in our personal space or our working environment, whatever the context is, the reason being is we haven't effectively, accurately, and efficiently entered their world yet. But once you do enter their world, they'll feel that you are, well, you know, you're like them. You understand them, and everything changes. If your client feels that those questions they're always asked in their unconscious mind, can you be trusted? Are you committed to excellence? And do you care about me as an individual, not as a client, but as an individual? That'll mean that you have effectively entered their world. Everyone is different and unique, remember, so every person's got different variations of those questions, and answering these questions to their satisfaction will also differ. So this kind of information I cover in more depth in my weekend event, Personal Power, Passion and Purpose, and the Forces of Energy and Persuasion. So for now, just know that everyone will have a different variation from slight to extreme on what trust means, or what the criteria of knowing that you're any good. What do you consider service excellence? Whatever you say, whatever you do, your care factor. People have different criteria of demonstration of care. So the tip here is that you never tell someone that you can be trusted, that you're committed to excellence, that you care about them as a person. You have to show it in your actions. You must lead by example and undersell and oversupply. Let's talk for a minute on a personal quest for relationships. When you express care and love for a partner or spouse, I'm sure you'll agree that generally speaking, people do not believe people when they say, I can be trusted, I'm good, or I do care about you as a person. Who would believe that? People believe it when they see you through your actions, not what you say. They see you through who you are being. They see it through your actions, and that's what they're looking for. So in regard to excellence, we need to understand what care means to this person. What is this person's criteria for trust? What's the criteria for excellence? What's the criteria for care? So it's really fundamental. And the map is up the territory. I've discussed this in class with you. The map is up the territory. You can research that further if you'd like by visiting my website and consider attending the weekend event perhaps. So go right ahead now, access my Dashboard of Life website, take a look at the calendar and do your own research before you contact me then direct. This is where you get to dive deep into what makes you tick. What flicks your switch? When you know that, you can then see it in others. You find how to really connect when it comes to the different languages and strategies. In an ideal relationship, all too often relationships fail because one or the other just didn't feel loved or cared for. It's the same in business. People need to feel they can trust you, they will follow you, that you're going to follow through, and that you really truly care about them as an individual, not as a client. So another way of looking at this is that your map of the world is your subjective opinion of reality, and the territory is the objective version of reality. So look at it this way. The territory is based on facts. It's an objective version of reality, whereas your map of the world is your own opinion. It's subject version of reality. If you look at the slide on the screen, I've mentioned to you before about most of what happens, all of what happens to us in our life between 0 and 7 years, we continue to take through our lives. We continue then to search and to gather evidence that what we believe is true. And that's based on our filtration system. Now, our neural filters include our values, our beliefs, reference points in our life, memories, language, experiences, defining moments, things that happen to you when you decide that means that I am this, or that means that I am that, or that means that parents don't care, or mother doesn't care, or father doesn't care, whatever it might mean for you, those defining moments in life. Decisions you make based on things that happen to you in your life. We make conscious decisions and unconscious decisions. That becomes our internal representation, and then we get into emotional states as a result. And then that reflects in our body and how we feel, and then we then act out in our behavior. That's what we do. So if we believe that we're lovable, then we will distort and delete and generalize anything that says that we're not lovable. If, on the other hand, we don't believe that we're worthy of love, we will delete and distort and generalize anyone who says that they love you. We will distort it or generalize it or delete it because we believe that we're not lovable. Just for a quick example on that. Let me give you another example I know that you can all relate to. Let's say you're walking down the street with some friends and you're right in front of you there's a car accident. I think it's in the next slide. Yeah, there we go. There's a car accident. It's just a minor one, so no one's hurt. Now, the car that collided, one of them is green and the other one is gold. So there are many witnesses to this accident. 3 of your friends are there, plus other people walking down the street. And now, the territory, which are the facts, is that the green car and the gold car collided. But the moment you step in and you say that it was the green car's fault, you can rest assured that somebody else will have an opinion that it was the gold car's fault. There will be somebody else who says well, what about that motorbike? Yeah, there's going to be somebody else saying the green car was going too fast. Somebody else saying the gold car was going way too fast. So the moment we insert our own opinion or experience of what happened, we are coming from our own map of the world. You see it from your own perspective, as does the other person. Your own opinion. And by the way, you can only experience reality one way, and that is through your filters, through your map of the world. And I'm speaking here about the filters that I've just mentioned to you previously, and I'll discuss some more about it later on. So that's the only way that you can experience the world. It's through your map. So the territory is the green car and the gold car collided, but that's the fact. That's the territory. The map, your map of the world, is your opinion of what happened in the accident. Who was at fault? It's your own version of that. And that's how other people see it as well. I trust this makes sense for you. Let's look at it another way. So the map is not the territory. Think of it like your territory is your desired outcome. Yeah, like the two cars collided, right? Your map is your belief structure. It's your value system and the filtration process you have. It's the appropriate distortions and analyzations that are aligned with that outcome. So it's your own version of the collision. So here are a few great questions for you that you can ponder in a situation of conflict or dispute, coming from your own map of the world. How do you know that what you've deleted is the least important thing? And how do you know that what you have distorted and allowed into your map is in fact the most important thing that you could have allowed into your map? Could it be possible that the other person's version is the correct version? Another way of looking at it is, in order to be aligned with your territory, in other words, for you as a human being, excuse me, as a man or as a woman, to be aligned to your outcome, whatever that outcome is your map aligned to it? So miracles start to happen when you give as much energy to your dreams as you do to your fears. Fear is often at the cause of much conflict and dispute. When people feel threatened or they're fearful of a situation, the result can often be conflict or dispute, definitely. It's important to be aware that fear can cause disputes or conflicts, as often fear is not recognized or verbalized. Some people may be unaware or unsure of their role. Let's say some is a new staff member, you're new in your job, and you're unsure of your new role, and fear of making mistakes. That causes people to react to situations in a way that may cause disputes between other staff. So staff may or may not be aware of that fear is the underlying cause. So what might be possible if, instead of focusing on fear, you focus your energy on your dreams, your passions, and your purpose in life? What might happen if you were to feel the fear and do it in any situation that's of course safe and the right thing to do, and you make a decision and go ahead and do it anyway? How might your life change? If you could change and get awesome results, how would that be? Good questions, huh? Think about those. So managing conflict. Next question. There are 3 steps to managing conflict and disputes, and they are here. So we need to assess the conflict or the dispute. We need to negotiate a resolution, and we need to evaluate a response. And again, there's some notes there on page 5 of your additional resource kit. The next question talks about the ADKAR model. And the ADKAR model, the acronym, is awareness, desire, knowledge, ability, and reinforcements. Now, I'm not going to go into too much detail here. There's a lot to read there. So take some time out and read your notes on the additional resources kit on page 8 for that. But the ADKAR model, it's about what we want to do is have an awareness of the need of change, a desire to support the change, knowledge of how to change, ability to achieve the change, and reinforcement to strengthen and build longevity. So have a good read of that. There's some great tips there for you. There's quite a lot in that. I won't go through it here, but there's some great information there. Have a read of it. It will help you in your assessment, and also for continuing on into your career. Let's look at some techniques now for aggressive behaviour. Whenever you find people are aggressive, what you need to do, it means you don't have rapport with them. You need to establish rapport and speak to them effectively. So communicate with them effectively. Listen and really be open. Yeah, be an active listener. Have a sense of humour about it. Don't take it personally. Have a positive attitude. Respect them as you would have them respect you. And stand confident in your own boots. Yeah, just be there. Don't take it on board on your own chest. Just stand there. Be confident in yourself, and use your emotional intelligence. Be patient, and be creative. Yeah, be creative about what you need to do, and what's going on in the situation. To build rapport, remembering that building rapport, there are many different things we need to consider. I have discussed this in class, and I'll just briefly go through it now. Things that we can pick up on to increase our rapport is our posture, people's gestures, their proximity, where they stand to you, the way that they shake your hand, the strength of that. Look at their facial expressions. You can blink and smile and sort of match and mirror them. Use breathing, if you like, pace and location of their breath. Their voice quality, match them again in their tone, tempo, timbre, and volume. Don't forget the predicates, those little words, see, hear, feel, those sorts of things, and think. The AD is the think, audio digital, so visual, audio, kinesthetic, and audio digital, and we have discussed that in class quite a bit. And the keywords, of course, as I mentioned to you before. So again, this kind of information on rapport I deal with in almost all of my training. So if you'd like to get some more information again for another summary of it, just give me a call or shoot me through an email. Happy to help you out. But establishing rapport, so the theory of communication in establishing rapport is in order to really get a great connection or rapport, only 7% of our words is what gives us rapport. 38% of the tonality of those words helps us, but 55%, hands down, wins the physiology. So when you're thinking about building rapport and you're needing to build rapport, please be aware, and always be aware, that your tone of voice and your physiology are more important than the actual words that you're saying. Yeah. So of course it has to make sense, but be aware of that physiology is the key to establishing rapport. We then have the 7 steps of influencing with integrity for people. So we've mentioned rapport. So use your senses, be very acute and watching and really observe what's going on, your sensory acuity. Match and mirror people, use the VAKAD. Find their present state. What's their big problem right now? Why do they want to leave? What's going on with them right now in this moment? Ask them some really great questions, and use some great strategies, of NLP strategies that I've taught you there in the class whenever you're doing that. Also find their desired state. What's their vision? What's their purpose? What's the purpose of them selling? What's the purpose of them investing? What values are important to them? What's really important in their life? What's prevented them in the past from achieving what they want to achieve? And what if they were to do it a different way? Show how you, your product, your service, whatever it might be, is the bridge to their solution. In any conflict, what you're looking to achieve there is that you are the bridge. No matter what happens, you're the bridge. Ask for the sale, or ask them, if after it all are they happy with the solution? Handle any further objections, and then to handle objections, of course, we're going to use agreement frames, which are really important. So let's move on now to tapping into people's emotions. People's emotions are really, really important. Bear in mind that people's emotions wins hands down over logic. Yeah. So how do you see, hear, and feel? How do they feel, hear, and see? Power. Who has the power in this situation, in this relationship? Who controls the resources? Who stands to lose the most if agreement is not reached? What power does one person have over the other? The one with the most flexibility wins. Remember that. You need to be flexible in all your negotiations, in all of your conflict, in all of your disputes, in all of your resolutions, in all of your solutions. The one with the most flexibility wins. That doesn't mean giving in, but being flexible wins. The consequences. What are the consequences for you winning or losing this negotiation? And what are the consequences for the other person? And what about relationships? What's the history? Should the history impact the negotiation? Yeah, you need to find that out in their where are they now? Where have they been in the past? Is there any hidden issues? They always are, guys, always are hidden issues. So how will you handle these? Understand how to work with people's emotions using NLP skills that I've taught you in class. You've learned over all this time of being with me. Use your emotional intelligence and your social intelligence, your empathy and motivation. Understand that emotional intelligence enables us to better handle all situations, no matter which situation you're in. And have we placed ourselves in such a manner that all parties feel safe and secure? This will not only minimize the risk of conflict, but it also ensures that negotiations are enjoyed by all parties. So the key factors in communication are the issue of importance, the priorities, the principles, and the values. To what extent do these play a role in this situation? So what's the importance of the issue for this person? Like I mentioned, my brother Jimmy, like for him, the issue of traveling, 60 minutes or whatever it was, 45 minutes or 60 minutes out of his home was like just super important for him. Like he just wasn't going to do that. So what is it about that is important? Yeah, for this person, that issue that they're bringing up, what is it? What's the importance around that? And in regard to relationships, how does the other party rate in regard to mutually supportive relationship? Do they have a mutual sense of integrity in this situation? Do they, is there a mutual respect here in this relationship? And how important is that for them? Might be different to yours. Yeah. The relevant importance. How much power do you have to change the situation compared to the power of the other person? Yeah. What's relative here? Who has the most power? And why is that? Some more key factors here for you. Emotional engagement during any appraisal, any listing, whatever the case might be. Emotion stimulates the mind 3,000 times faster than rational thought. And many people say that we live in a rational world, but you know what? Nothing can be further from the truth. Emotions drive our behavior, hands down. The world is driven by emotions. Rational thoughts lead customers to be interested, but it's the emotion that sells. So you need to start targeting people's emotions the second you walk across their threshold. To maximize your chances of getting the listing, you must first connect with their hearts. and later rationalize with their minds. We also need to look at reducing their fears. How do you meet people's emotional needs? How does that make you the right person to sell their castle? Because, of course, you know, it is their castle. How can you reduce their fears? You have to translate these things into specific benefits to them in their context. Everything you have to give is about reducing the risk for your vendor or your landlord of the selling process. You need to be alleviating their fear response at every opportunity. So again, the questions about where are they now, where have they been, and where are they going? What's their biggest fears? I've spoken to you before in class about living above the line or below the line, living at cause or at effect. So I'm going to take a moment here very quickly to introduce you to this and fear, because what lives below the line at effect is fear. Any fear-based reactions to life, and if below the line is fear, then that of course means that living above the line is what? It's love, right? It's abundance, it's joy, it's happiness, it's all of that. Above the line thinking presupposes unconditional love, presupposes abundance. Love presupposes joy, happiness, etc. Yeah? So remember that being above the line, you are in control. You have the power within you to control and influence your own life. If you give your power away to other people, you end up being the victim. You play the victim because you have given away your control and influence in life. And then you start the blame game. So everything you want is on the other side of fear. Now, you know there are two primal emotions in life, and that is, as discussed, love and fear. Every expression of emotion is either an expression of fear, a cry for help, or it's an expression of love. And it's true, everything you want is on the other side of fear. And this is really interesting. When somebody does anger, or someone expresses frustration, or causes conflict in your life, this is a form of fear being expressed. And unconsciously, what that person is saying is, I'm screaming out for your help. It's just that I don't know how to ask for it. So when someone is being angry with you or annoyed with you, or even if you're experiencing these emotions yourself, it's a cry for help of some kind. It's a fear-based expression. That's all below the line at effect. So at cause or above the line, all of that above the line are love-based actions. So coming from love, joy, happiness, enthusiasm, passion, excitement, the sense of adventure, all of those examples are expressions of love. Abundance is an expression of love. Scarcity, on the other hand, the flip to abundance or fear and scarcity, is below the line at effect. So yes, scarcity is an actual form of fear. When we have what's known as scarcity mentality around our health, our energy, our job, our ability to get a job, around our core relationships, or scarcity around money, any of these things, it's a fear-based expression. Now, at the weekend event, I do some really deep sea diving around this, and these are called the 3 universal fears. At the end of the day, every human being, regardless of how uniquely they express their fears, we are all actually afraid of the same things. We all actually have the same 3 universal fears, and that's why they call it universal fears, because we all have them. And what's fascinating is in the world of coaching, I know that whenever I've unveiled these universal fears to my clients, there's such a sense of relief that comes when they discover that these fears aren't just something that belongs to them, that it's a fear that's experienced by and expressed by everybody. Then all of a sudden, we don't feel as alone. We don't feel like a freak. We don't feel like there's something wrong with us. And I've got to say that what I just said there about the perception of something being wrong with us, I haven't met any human being yet that hasn't come at one point of his or her life. They haven't felt an aspect of that or thought that there's something wrong with them in some way. You know what's interesting? When I'm driving, I love to listen to inspirational, motivational, educational CDs, and it's just something I love to do, and it serves me really well. One of the greats I love to listen to is Deepak Chopra. And recently, listening in the car, there's an interesting message here. As human beings, we have unwanted thoughts that enter our minds every day. What's wrong with me? I keep doing this to myself. I'm stupid. I'm so alone. I never get a break. Or how will I ever get out of this? Our minds are vulnerable to negative thoughts, causing us doubt, worry, anxiety, and frequently it's the same negative thoughts that return over and over. And what's really fascinating here is that the reality is we're either the choosers of our thoughts or the interpreters of our thoughts. We don't actually create the thoughts. Interesting. Let me explain what I mean here. Simply, according to quantum physics, we live in a super pure potentiality. And living in a super pure potentiality means that in the empty, invisible space around us, in the room you're sitting in right now, everything exists. Everything. All of the radio stations are playing, all of the channels on TV are playing, all of the songs, all of the talkback is all existing in this room right now. All of the thoughts, all of the conversations going on around the world is existing in this room right now. You're just not tuned into it. Because we're tuned into our own physical level of conscious awareness. And I hope that kind of makes sense. So what Deepak was saying was that we're not even creators of our thoughts. What he's saying is it's actually our soul that is the creator of our thoughts. And when I refer to soul, I refer to the soul as the unconscious mind. It's the same thing. The unconscious mind is the creator of our thoughts. But we, in our conscious awareness, we choose what thoughts to have, or in other words, we are interpreting thoughts. That's all we're doing. So when you look at it from that perspective, it enables you to take yourself more lightly. It enables us to take ourselves less seriously. Look at it like this. It enables us to be fascinated and to become our own source of entertainment. Don't you love that? Get really curious about how it is we do what we do to ourselves. How would your life be if you can do this? Your goal is to become your own source of entertainment, to notice how ridiculous you really are taking life too seriously. We're all so ridiculous. Life is ridiculous, and we are ridiculous because we take ourselves so goddamn seriously. It's just fascinating. Now, in the perfect time, in a perfect world, any time, right now, this time, now is the perfect time to get over yourself. And as Deepak says in this quote right here on the screen, life is a walk to the edge of a cliff. Every day we get a step nearer, and what lies over the brink, no one can tell. So you know now that there is nothing wrong with you. Let yourself go. Give yourself a break. Get out of that comfort zone and stay above the line and just do it. So I trust that with me as your teacher over the last semester, guys, I've been able to share with you some amazing insights that you can take away with you now and apply immediately in your life. I trust that our time together has been extremely useful and entertaining, and also enabling you to grasp the skills that you can create change in a heartbeat. You know, you can. In terms of using these principles so you can change the way you choose to experience your reality. And if you remember one key thing that I said to you in this session that Deepak Chopra had said, we are either the choosers of our thoughts or the interpreters of our thoughts that are out there. So to me, it's actually both. We're actually choosing thoughts and interpreting them. And when you are very, very aware of the most important time that exists, and that is the time between stimulus and response, we're living in a continual stimulus-response environment. So something happens, we respond. How we respond is the result of the thoughts we have chosen to focus on and the meaning that we attribute to those thoughts, which induces the feeling. And with a thought and a feeling combined, we start to experience our version of reality. And I don't know if our paths will cross again, and I hope that is the case. But I love and I'm really enjoying this journey of my own personal power and passion and purpose in relationships that I build with you. I'm enjoying immensely sharing with you all the principles, the codes, the ways that we've been, and that I can trust that not only be useful to you, but that you can also replicate them so that you can pass them on to others in your own life, in your own business, in your careers. And you hold dear in your life all others who are certainly ready to hear this message. Some food for thought. Extraordinary people are ordinary people that make extraordinary decisions in life. The first step, if you are to change your life completely as you leave here, you've got to decide. Take the decision to empower yourself. Find your passion in life and your purpose in life. The second step is to commit to the path. Your only point of power is here and now. Decide and commit now. The third step is to act. Have you ever known anybody to have a bag of money fall on their head when they were meditating? No, I don't think so. So that's a wrap, guys. And I know that you've been enjoying this. What I'd like to do, if I can manage to make this thing work, I'd love to share with you a video that I'd like to leave you with, and I look forward to seeing you at your after the holiday break, and also sharing with you some more great insights in the future. Okay, thank you so much again, guys, for sharing with me today. Great to see you here. I do hope that at some level you're able to easily absorb and use all of what you've learned here with me, and as you can hear all that I'm saying and know what to do and how to do it, because that's the natural way to be. Yeah. Have a magical career, guys, and I look forward to seeing you again really soon. Ciao for now.